So I'm going to talk about the election of 1824, the election of 1968, the presidential elections, and the one in 2000. Now, I am super excited. By digging deep into the Electoral College, I feel as though I understand it better than most people. And I also found an absolutely incredible mechanism that I didn't know that was in there from before. Okay, so real fast, the Electoral College is the group of electors that we elect in the presidential election, because none of the American people actually have the right to vote for the president. We vote for the electors of the political party of that candidate. So let's just give, Colorado, there's Hillary and there's Donald, and then there is Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. At their party conventions, they have to pick 9 electors. And if Jill Stein wins, then the 9 electors that the Green Party has selected are the ones who vote at the state capitol, at a different time. So the people that the electors, the people don't vote. They vote for the electors, and then the electors, a month after the November general election, they vote in December amongst themselves. And that's the official vote. So how many people in America, I won't say none, but we got 320 million people in this country. People want to say, well, I don't believe in democracy. So you believe that the 528 electors, they should decide everything? So, just to reiterate, the electors, so Hillary Clinton took Colorado in 2016. So, the Democratic Party, before the election, has to select 9 people to be the electors. And the electors can't be a House rep or a senator or anybody that's employed with the federal government or anybody that's been given a corporate charter by the federal government, if that's even a thing. I wonder why they don't ban the state reps and the state senators or the people that work for the state government. I mean, if we're trying to cut out the elites, because that's what Alexander Hamilton had said about the Electoral College, was that he wanted to take the vote away from the people, but then he wanted to have the sense of the people. The electors have to come from the people. But, so yeah, the people, the Hillary Clinton, when the Democrats, the Democrats chose 9 electors if Hillary wins. And then the Republicans picked 9 electors. If Donald wins, those 9 would be the ones who go to vote. So typically, if the Republican Party picked the electors, they're going to vote for the political party that had selected them. So it turns out to be just a formality. If most of Colorado votes for Hillary Clinton, then all 9 of the electors are supposed to, by state statute, to vote for Hillary. But the Constitution is not like that. The Constitution is very clear. Article 2, Section 1, and then also the Federalist Paper number 68. You want to get to the original intent of the Electoral College? It was to refine the vote of the people. If the people fuck up, then you can overturn the people's vote, and then you can elect somebody who is much better. And for Alexander Hamilton, he wanted a great administrator, right? The people might not see that you need a good administrator to become president. The people might not see that. They might just like some fancy talk, and then, some of the bullshit sort of popular, the antics. They might like his political campaign stunts. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is going to be a good administrator. They could just be good talking to the people. So, what happened in Colorado 2016, Hillary Clinton got elected by the people, but we don't actually vote for the candidate, right? So what had happened was the 9 electors of the Democratic Party is who got elected by the people of Colorado in November, in that big election when we all watch the TV and then, there's a decision that's made. The official election is going to be 1 month after in December. So 9 electors from the Democratic Party is who the people of Colorado voted for. They didn't vote for Hillary. They voted for the 9 electors. And then the 9 electors were supposed to go on 1 month later and then vote for Hillary. All of them, since Hillary had won. You know, it's not a proportional thing, so it's a winner-take-all. So once you win, then you get all those electors. Now, there was some controversy when the 9 electors went to Denver, the capital of Colorado, to go vote. There was one guy, Michael Baca, I believe it's John Kasich. I'm pretty sure this is correct. If it's not Mike, it's Michael. Okay, so Michael Baca, he saw that Hillary's going to lose. He wanted to be distinguished. He wanted to use his electoral vote. So the Democratic Party picked Michael Baca. But then when Michael Baca went to go vote, he didn't vote for Hillary, which is in his constitutional right to do. He was going to vote for John Kasich. So the 1968 election has George Wallace winning 46, an independent, a third party, 46 electoral college votes. And then 2000, we saw a very, very close race between Bush and Gore, 271 versus 266. So by 5 electoral votes, Baby Bush won 2000 by 5 electoral votes. And then 1824 is when this mechanism that I was talking about earlier had happened. Okay, so what's next? What happens next? Okay, so we have an election where the people pretend to go vote, and then the electors are voted, and then the electors can take the people's vote, you know, into mind if they want to, or they can vote however they please. So what happens? There's another mechanism if the Electoral College is not able to decide, if they can't pick a majority, because you got to get 270 of the 538, which has been around for like 50, 60 years. So we got 538 electors, and the majority of those will be 270. So 270 Electoral College votes is the number to get. That's the number to get up to. If you do not get 270, if both Donald and Hillary, neither one got 270, because people were voting for John Kasich or Colin Powell or Spotted Bear, then it goes into a runoff election into the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives are going to decide the American presidency now. So we have a group of electors that we had voted on to vote on our behalf, and if those electors don't vote the way, if they don't, figure out what the hell's going on, then the decision is taken away from the Electoral College and given to the House of Representatives. So this House runoff election is something that I didn't know anything about until I got into some deep research. Not only is it a law, but it's happened in history. It happened in 1824 with the election between John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, William H. Crawford, and Henry Clay. And I'll get more details into that. There's also, if you was just to use, let's assume that both Hillary and Donald, they didn't reach 270. If we assume they didn't reach 270, the third place winner was Colin Powell. He had 3 Electoral College votes from Washington. Ron Paul had 1, Bernie Sanders had 1 Electoral College vote, and then Spotted Eagle, some Native American named Spotted Eagle got 1 Electoral College vote. So, what happens if there's a tie, if there's no majority? I think that's clear. I keep saying tie because it's easier to remember. But essentially, if there's no majority, because in a democracy, the majority prevails. In a democracy, what the majority want, the minority get their say, but the majority get their way. So, in a democracy, such as our republic, or our empire actually now today, so we're very far away from a republic, but we have democratic values. We vote, and we allow the majority of the people of the Electoral College to win. So people want to bitch about democracy, but then they'll say the majority of the Electoral College is good enough. Well, what the fuck are you saying? If you're opposed to democracy, what else is there? What are you suggesting? Totalitarian dictatorship, ruled by the minority, ruled by oligarchy, ruled by plutocracy? cut the people out. To hell with all the people. So Donald won the presidency, not because he won the American people vote. He actually lost the national vote, but because he got 301 electoral college votes versus Hillary Clinton's 227. So he wound up actually pretty much spanking her by 73 electoral college votes. Now, if both of the two candidates are deprived of a minority, then this House runoff election is kicked in. And this is how the third party can win. They'll follow the model of George Wallace, and then they'll also follow Henry Clay and William H. Crawford. Or just follow their own damn heartbeat, because the rules are written right there, on paper. So the rules are right there, accessible to anybody that wants to look at them. So what? What the fuck am I talking about? Any of this shit for? Why does any of this matter? So I have found a path that the third party can win. Okay, the third party can win. So I want to talk about the rules. Okay, so when the House runoff election is kicked in, they take the top three candidates. So if both Hillary and Donald have been deprived of the majority of the electoral college votes, if they did not get the 270 threshold that they needed, then we don't have a majority victor. We need a majority. That's the only way you can have the mandate of the people is with the majority. You can't just accept the plurality. What, the few people that voted, 40%? Well, 40% like the guy. Well, that's not the people. That's 40%. So if both are deprived of a majority, if both are under 270, it kicks into the House runoff election, and the top three candidates are then put before the House of Representatives, and then the House of Representatives votes on the president. So we cede our powers away to one body, and if they can't figure it out, then they don't get any more power ever again. It was a temporary government body anyways. So the Electoral College can't figure it out. They all get fired, and it goes to the House of Reps. And the House of Reps gets three candidates presented in front of them, and then it takes a majority. Again, here's this thing with the majority. People keep talking about the people and the majority, like they have no idea what the fuck the Electoral College is. They just know, somebody told them that it was good one time or some shit. Well, the framers, they did it. Well, the framers didn't even know how to spell choose. C-H-U-S-E. Read the Constitution. They spelled choose C-H-U-S-E. Yeah, so go to these grammar Nazi English fucking teachers, and they'll go ahead and they would have flunked the Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers also, a lot of them owned slaves. Who gives a shit what the fuck they even thought to begin with? They fucking owned slaves. So the Electoral College is not genius, it's not smart, it's just one more mechanism to take the power away from the people. So let's talk about 1824. So we get to see this in history one time when the House of Representatives decided one presidential election. And that's it. Typically on the November national election, the other candidate concedes so that the country isn't ripped asunder. But that's, we need to do things right. So be on the up and up, make sure the winner got chosen, and then concede. Don't give up on election day. If you're a third-party candidate, just the Green Party, I have affinity for the other independents, essentially because we're all in this together, and I agree more with the Libertarians than I do with the Republicans and Democrats. And I'm a Green. So the way the Green Party can win, Ralph Nader could have won in 2000 if he would have just taken one state. If he would have taken Colorado, that would have given Ralph Nader 8 electoral college votes, and it would have deprived Betty Bush of 8 electoral college votes, and it would have given Al Gore the majority in the electoral college. So it's 271 versus 266. That's W. Bush versus Gore. So W wins by 5 electoral college votes in 2000. Also because Florida can't fucking vote, and the Supreme Court stole it, and Pat Buchanan. People want to blame Nader, but Pat Buchanan took enough votes in Florida away. So how come nobody ever blames Pat Buchanan for Al Gore being a dumb piece of shit, right? Al Gore couldn't win. Okay, so 1824. Well, let me finish with Ralph Nader. If Nader would have won Colorado, that would have brokered in a House runoff election because nobody would have got a majority. Nobody would have broke that 270 threshold, 270 Electoral College vote threshold, and a House runoff election would have been triggered with the top three, which would have included Nader. And so now you got, the House body, the 435 representatives, and they vote differently. The states only get one vote apiece. You need 2/3 of the states to have a quorum, and then you need a majority of those who are present. So that's how the House election goes. So if Nader would have won Colorado, the House runoff election would have been triggered, and he would have been in the top three presented to the House of Representatives to vote for. Now, he's passed the first phase. Now the second phase is you got to win the House. There's 435 assholes in the House, so you have to convince them that the independent is better, the other two guys suck, and then he has to win the House. So Ralph Nader could have won if he would have taken Colorado because he would have been part of the House runoff election that's triggered when there's no majority victor. Now, 1824 is one of these elections when there is no majority victor. Andrew Jackson wins the national vote. Andrew Jackson wins the Electoral College vote. He gets more. He gets a plurality. He gets 99 Electoral College votes. So, how did John Quincy Adams do? Well, he lost. John Quincy Adams didn't get as many votes as Andrew Jackson did. He got 84 Electoral College votes. So he gets 15 less Electoral College votes. William Crawford gets 41. Henry Clay gets 37. And those are all the Electoral College votes. So Andrew Jackson, he would be the winner, right? He's got 99 votes. He's got, Quincy at 84, Crawford 41, Henry Clay 37. 99 is bigger than 84, 41, and 37. But Andrew Jackson is not going to win the presidency of 1824 because of this House runoff election. So the number that Andrew Jackson needed was 131. There was 260 total Electoral College votes in 1824. So Andrew Jackson needed to get 131 in order to achieve a majority. If you don't get a majority of the Electoral College votes, because, we're a democracy, and what's the alternative? Let the minority win? So one guy voted one way, so let's just give him all the power and fuck everybody else? So Andrew Jackson, he didn't get the majority, even though he got a plurality. He got 99, but he didn't get 131. So what happens? Now it goes to the House runoff election. Well, this is crazy. This is the way it ought to be done, the way it needs to be done, since, the people need to consent. If the Electoral College can't figure the shit out, just fuck the Electoral College and re-fucking vote, and just take the national election. Institute instant runoff voting. We need a national election with instant runoff voting. And what that does is that triggers several runoff elections, eliminating the weakest candidate and then redistributing their votes. It's fair. There's no spoiler effect. People want to say Nader stole the election. Well, get us a fair fucking election, you fucking pricks. If you had instant runoff voting, then we wouldn't have the spoiler effect. The second vote would go to, whomever. So I could vote for Nader for my first vote, and then my second vote could be for whoever I want. So if Nader loses, then his votes are redistributed to my second place choice. So if we can't figure out who the president is with one election, we should have another election. But instead, we give it to the Electoral College. If they can't figure it out, they give it to the House. And then we just watch. We're just spectators in this so-called democracy. So what ended up happening is the House goes to vote, and not the delegation, not every single representative gets a vote, but just the state. So each delegation gets one vote for their whole state. So you have 7 House of Representatives now from Colorado in the United States government. If they had to vote, then those 7 would have to figure out some way to pick just one candidate. They could vote, and whoever, 4 of 7 wins, or they could do a plurality, whoever 3 of 7 wins if nobody else beats the 3. But the delegation only gets 1 vote, so these are the states. How many state votes? So they voted, and the Andrew Jackson does not get enough states. John Quincy Adams, he gets 13 states to vote for him in the House runoff election in 1824. Andrew Jackson gets 7, and William H. Crawford wins 4. Henry Clay's candidacy was kicked off the ballot because only the top 3 goes forward. So Jackson, William H. Crawford, and John Quincy Adams were presented to the House, and 13 states in the House voted for John Quincy Adams, 7 voted for Jackson, and 4 voted for Crawford. So 13 is a majority. If you had 13, 7, and 4, that's 24, so you needed 12 plus 1, 50% plus 1 for the majority. So 13 states. John Quincy Adams won 13 states in the House runoff election. That's the majority. He beat Jackson and Crawford, so therefore John Quincy Adams became the president in 1824. And then they all cried corrupt bargain and this and that, but it's constitutional. All this is completely constitutional through and through. So, how can Ralph Nader have won? He could have triggered that House runoff election, and he would have been one of the 3, and then you'd have to get the House to choose him. So he would have had a chance. If Nader campaign in 2000 would have focused on winning just Colorado, just one state, just enough, he won by 271. Baby Bush got 271, so he just broke 270 by 1 point. All you needed to do to deprive him of a victory was to take away 2 points. So if they just would have taken a Republican state that offered 2 electoral college votes, then Nader would have deprived both of them of a majority, and then both of them, or all 3 of them, would have gone on for the House runoff election. Now, a lot of people talk about Ross Perot. Ross Perot, he had I think he had a good, successful independent campaign, considering we're in this 2-party system. But his electoral college campaign was awful. Ross Perot wins 19% of the people. So even though Ross Perot won 1 out of every 5 American voters, which is amazing, 20%, he should have got somebody should have been representing the Reform Party, because 20% of the people believed in the Reform Party. But he didn't win a single state. He didn't win any electoral college votes. So the scoreboard in 1992 was Ross Perot 0. But 1968, George Wallace, he was independent, and he got 14%, so he got a less national percentage of the vote than Ross Perot. But George Wallace won 46 electoral college votes. One quick note, for anybody that says that independents don't have a chance, this is America. Anything's possible. If you could dream it, you could do it. The sky is the limit. So not only do third parties have a chance, but we didn't always have Republicans and Democrats. There used to be Whigs. There used to be Federalists. So there had to have been a third party to have got rid of the Whigs and to have got rid of the Federalists. There had to have been a third party. The Republicans were a third party. Abraham Lincoln, there was no Republicans before Lincoln. So Lincoln came in, and then the Whig Party was no more. The Whig Party disintegrated. They couldn't decide. They couldn't make up their minds about slavery. And then the Republican Party made slavery a big issue, and the Whig Party disintegrated. So there's been third parties who have taken over. There have been third parties who became president. So not only is it possible, because anything's possible and that this is America, but it's possible because it's happened in American history. So we've had third parties who have won, who have taken the entire thing. A lot of times third parties come up with the good, all the good ideas. The Women's Right to Vote Party, the Anti-Slavery Party, so the Greenback Party. George Wallace is a piece of shit, okay? I'm not saying anything about his politics. His famous quote is segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. He's an outright bigot. He's a racist. He's a white supremacist, segregationist, low-life piece of shit. But this is something that Dick Gregory had said. He said that his candidacy gives us a yardstick. How many people in this country are racist pieces of shit? Well, 14% of white America would embrace a white supremacist piece of shit. And then he won 46 electoral college votes, meaning he won 5 states outright. He won Georgia, he won Arkansas, he won Alabama, he won Mississippi. Mississippi still has the Confederate flag in their state flag. And he won Louisiana. So how racist is America? Well, 14% of 1968 America, 3 out of 20 people were racist pieces of shit, and you can pretty much assume everybody in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Georgia are a bunch of racist pieces of shit too. And then there was one faithless elector from the North Carolina. So that's his 46. He got those 5 states electoral college votes. He won all the electoral college votes. And then he got one faithless elector from North Carolina because they could vote for whomever they please. Now, 46 electoral college votes is a whopper of a number. In 2000, Ralph Nader just needed to deprive Baby Bush of 2 electoral college votes. So if Nader would have got 46 electoral college votes, split half of them, maybe, some from the Democrat states, some from the Republican states, he would have triggered that House runoff election. 46 electoral college votes is a shit ton. So if George Wallace would have ran in 2000, then George Wallace could have became president because it triggers that House runoff election, and then you need the top 3. But the 1968 election wasn't close, so there wasn't a House runoff election that was triggered in 68. The significance of the 68 election is that George Wallace won a a whopping 46 electoral college votes, and he ran as an independent. He ran as a third party. So he's one of the most successful people in terms of electoral college votes for a third party who didn't go on to win the presidency. So there you have it. There you have it. In 1824, we see that we had a House runoff election that deprived the biggest electoral college winner and the winner of the national vote went loose. Andrew Jackson lost 1824 because he didn't follow the Constitution. The House runoff election went to John Quincy Adams, and John Quincy Adams won in 1824. He won the presidency. But William H. Crawford was there. If the House of Representatives had looked at Andrew Jackson and looked at John Quincy Adams and said, fuck both of those 2 assholes. They're both assholes. They're both partisan. They're very divisive. Well, let's just pick this William H. Crawford. Let's pick this nice, sensible, centrist, moderate, let's pick this guy who everybody doesn't hate. And if it's an independent, you can make the argument that an independent could bring the 2 parties together better than a Democrat or a Republican could bring the people together. And that's a winning argument. But William H. Crawford, he could have become president. He could have became president because he was in that House runoff election. But, it didn't work out that way, but it was possible. And that's how it's possible for Nader. If Nader would have got Colorado had 8 electoral college votes in. He would have had 8, which would have put him in 3rd place, and then that 8 would have deprived Bush. Bush won Colorado in 2000, so it would have deprived him of 8 electoral college votes, therefore depriving him of a majority. So how can a Green Party today win in 2020? All they have to do is deprive the Republican and the Democrat of getting 270 votes. And I'll even talk about, I went ahead and did the swing states versus the safe states list. So right now, the way things are lined up, the Democrats, they already have so many votes, and the Republicans have so many votes. So there's 24 Democrat states, safely Democrat. So they get 198 Electoral College votes, and then the Democrats